So let me ask you something. Does your paper-based site management actually feel cheap to run? Well, it might be time to completely rethink that assumption. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to break down a really fascinating and super practical article from Reportomate. We're going to pull back the curtain and reveal the hidden budget bleed that's likely happening right now on your construction sites.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is the exact roadmap we'll use to transition from costly paperwork to automated workflows. We're covering 1. The hidden costs of paper forms. 2. The actual price tag of bad data. 3. What smart forms actually do. 4. Exactly which forms you need to digitize first. And 5. A step-by-step implementation plan. Section 1. The hidden costs of paper forms. Now, right out of the gate, we have to acknowledge exactly why construction teams still absolutely love paper. I mean, they don't use it because they're careless. They use it because it's familiar, it's incredibly flexible, and honestly, it doesn't need a login. You can just hand a clipboard to literally anyone on a busy site and it feels super quick in the moment.
But here's the catch. That convenience comes with a massive downside. The visible costs, the actual paper, printing, scanning, filing, those are minor expenses that trick you into thinking the whole process is cheap. But the hidden danger? That's all in the friction. We're talking delayed reports, missing forms, essential site photos totally lost in WhatsApp chaos, and some poor soul back in the office manually retyping all that data. The deeper issue isn't the physical paper itself, it's a fundamentally broken flow of information.
That brings us to Section 2, the price of bad data. You see, this everyday friction that teams just accept as normal? It doesn't just waste a few minutes here and there. It scales aggressively into literally millions of dollars in lost productivity and project rework.
And we have hard evidence from major studies to back this up. McKinsey found that a 14 to 15% productivity gain is totally possible simply through digital and operational change. PlanGrid and FMI, they discovered an astonishing 14 hours every single week are lost to non-productive admin. Basically, just looking for information or dealing with mistakes. And NIST identified a staggering $15.8 billion annual cost stemming from interoperability issues. In plain English, interoperability is just the incredibly expensive problem of disconnected systems and paper forms completely failing to talk to each other.
To put the true global scale of this issue into perspective, hold on to your hats. $1.85 trillion. Yeah, trillion with a T. According to research by Autodesk and FMI, that was the estimated global cost of quote-unquote bad data in the construction industry in 2020. That means information that's inaccurate, incomplete, or late. When your site data is bad, it directly impacts your decisions, it causes rework, and it absolutely destroys project outcomes. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding how this massive global problem drains your specific budget. The Reportomate article gives us this fantastic, simple South African cost illustration. Now, let me be strictly clear here. This is just an illustration to show how daily friction builds up, right? It's not an absolute benchmark for every single firm. But let's walk through the logic. The formula is the number of people affected multiplied by the hours they lose per week to admin times their loaded hourly cost times the project weeks per year. So in this example, if you have just 3 supervisors losing 3 hours a week at a loaded cost of 180 Rand over 44 project weeks, that is 71,280 Rand lost per year, just on chasing paperwork. And get this, that doesn't even include the cost of delayed approvals or missing evidence during a dispute.
Section 3, what smart forms actually do. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is that we're going to pivot away from the bleeding budget and focus entirely on the fix.
But first, we have to define our terms clearly, because honestly, a lot of people get this wrong. A smart form is a digital form that captures structured information and immediately connects it to your reporting, approvals, records, alerts, and workflows. It is absolutely 100% not just a scanned digital PDF that you fill out on the tablet. A true smart form acts as an automatic trigger for a business workflow.
The real magic here is that information is captured cleanly at the source just once. You capture mobile data and photos right there on site. You use required fields, so forms can literally never be submitted incomplete. You ensure they have offline completion for those sites with annoying dead zones. And once the user actually hits submit, that data routes automatically to generate PDF reports, update your live dashboards, and trigger automated issue escalation straight to the exact manager who needs it. Moving right along to Section 4. Forms to digitize first. Now, I have to give you a major warning here. Trying to digitize every single piece of paper in your business all at once? It's a huge mistake. You've got to be strategic about this.
Your absolute best starting lines are the forms that are frequent, repeated, and just incredibly painful to manage manually. Daily site reports? Perfect. Instead of manual compilation at the end of the week, site teams can submit structured updates instantly. Safety inspections are another amazing target, because you can enforce standard categories and require photo evidence before they can even hit submit. And snag lists. Digitizing these means you can finally track the status, the owner, and the closeout evidence for every single item seamlessly, without chasing anyone down.
Let's move to Section 5 and see how this all builds together. Here is the step-by-step implementation plan. The Reportomate article outlines a really brilliant, practical 7-phase playbook for actually rolling this out on site without completely disrupting your ongoing projects.
Let's look at the first 4 phases. Phase 1. Audit your current paperwork to find your absolute highest friction workflows. Phase 2. Choose those first forms to digitize, sticking strictly to the frequent, repetitive ones we just talked about. Phase 3. Build the forms properly. Please do not just copy a bad paper layout onto a screen. Use those required fields and conditional logic so the form is actually smart. And Phase 4 is vital. Test it on just one site or workflow first. You want a pilot test to watch how real people use it and fix any bottlenecks before a massive company-wide rollout.
Once your pilot is a success, you execute the final phases. Phase 5 is practical training. Make sure the team knows exactly when to use the form and what happens when they submit it. Phase 6 is where management gets their return, connecting those forms to live reports and dashboards. And finally, Phase 7 is proving the ROI. You absolutely must measure the results by tracking metrics, like report turnaround times and missing form rates, comparing before the implementation to after.
But before you run off to start building, you need to know the common implementation mistakes that completely derail these projects. We've touched on digitizing bad forms without actually improving them, but you also cannot ignore offline site conditions. Your system absolutely has to work when internet connectivity drops. Failing to train your staff? That will doom the project on day one. And crucially, especially for South African firms, you cannot ignore POPIA data privacy rules. POPIA simply outlines the basic accountability and rules needed for lawfully processing personal information, things like employee names, contact details, and site photos. You've got to design your data collection responsibly.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to look closely at your current operations and run them through this really quick ROI checklist. Does your current paper form create follow-up work? Does someone in your office have to sit down and retype that information later? If you're answering yes to either of those, you are losing money. The ultimate takeaway from Reportomate is that adopting smart forms isn't just about buying flashy new software. It is about driving real, profitable operational change. So, with all that in mind, what is your paperwork really costing you? Thanks for joining me today. Now it's time to take control of your data.